All right, so officially I started working in the Zimbabwe performing arts industry in 2006, where I went to a local theatre here in Harare and volunteered myself and said, I'm here to do just about anything that is needed um, within the theatre space, just being a general dog's body around as a way of my learning the craft and understanding how the space works. But also I was hoping that I would be exposed to other opportunities as well, which I did. So it was really it was really smart advice I got from someone. It was also the same time that I started attending the House of Hunger Poetry Slam at the Book Cafe. Me and my sister and a couple of other friends were also quite new to the space. And this is a space where I think we went for about like three slams and we didn't even get up on stage because we were so afraid of getting up there. Starting from a place where you're like, I've got so many things and so many poems that I want to share, and then seeing the experienced professional people on stage really struck us shy. But I think on the fourth one, that's when we went up on stage, and it wasn't as terrifying. But for me, that was a space as a poet for me to learn my craft as a performer and as a writer, and I really appreciated having that platform. But coming back again to when I started, I always want to pay an homage to my beginnings. And my beginnings don't start with me volunteering at a theatre in 2006 or attending the House of Hunger Poetry Slam and performing there as well. But my beginnings start with my grandmothers. My grandmothers from both my father's side and my mother's side, where each one of them would tell stories. My mother's mother was my maternal grandmother. She was a strict disciplinarian, and but really I learned a lot of things from her. But every time she would discipline you. So if she's telling you off, she would either say it sometimes in a story or in a song. And then my paternal grandmother, she's one where every time would go to the rural areas with us as kids, my older siblings and my younger siblings and my cousins would gather in a kitchen in the evenings whilst our mothers were busy with other chores. They would be there with our grandmother and we would tell stories around the fire whilst she's cooking this big pot of Zaza, or sometimes even just roasting some ground nuts or roasting some maize. So stoking the fire, and in between someone is telling a story that they also learned from school or from somewhere else, and also our grandmother telling us stories. And these were really rich stories from our folklore as people. And this space created within me an imaginarium, a world in which I could escape and find myself in this phantasma of folklore. But also it cultivated my imagination and my understanding of how fiction works in actually not just entertaining, but also in inspiring and educating a person, and also kind of encapsulating your own history as a person. So that is that from my family background to the point where even when we'll be back from the rural areas, my sister and my two younger brothers would do performances for our parents every Thursday evening. They would patiently be there sitting in the sitting room waiting for us, and we just quickly put together some stuff, and some staff would probably spend the whole day practicing and say, okay, so what is it that we're going to do for them today that is going to wow them? And being that the loving and encouraging parents that they were, they always clapped for us. It didn't matter the quality of it, but I think it was also that practice that really built us. And then, of course, in primary school, I had a teacher who always picked me to perform in a school play during church service. So So those were my beginnings. Those are the seeds that were planted in me. And I could go on and even talk about how, uh, besides performing for my parents, besides my grandmother's telling stories and lending us the craft of telling stories, we're surrounded by books. Books from all over the world. Books from written in Shona, books written in French, books written in English, some in Latin, and of course some of them we read when it wasn't yet time for us to read them because we didn't understand the subject matters. There were certain books that we thought, no, you know what, this is the top shelf, you're not supposed to touch this. Of course, you'll be like, okay, it's fine, I'm not going to touch this. But when no one was looking, those are the books we'd reach for and read in a hiding place somewhere. Those really were my beginnings.